Hello everyone, and welcome to my Duel Today official news channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kristen and Alex concede, Marlena desires John to pardon himself, and Leo, Melinda, and Sloane form an agreement. Approaching. John is urged to forgive himself by Marlena. Paulina and Abe reflect on their life's miracles, and Leo, Melinda, and Sloane form a covenant. Spoilers for Days of Our Lives for March 18th to 22nd, the following 2 weeks. Have you watched the season-long advertising trailer for Days? We've dissected it and offered some analysis. A gallery featuring the Day of Days cast is also included. Maggie is given a new perspective on Constantine. As Sarah tries to persuade Xander that Constantine has changed for the better, Xander listens. Steve and Marlena try their best to help John deal with his history. In order to incite Brady and Teresa's jealousy, Kristen and Alex devise a scheme. Trip and Wendy are about to enter a new phase in their relationship. Abe and Paulina consider the blessings in their lives that have occurred as a couple. Brady confronts Alex about Kristen. As she plays tricks on Teresa, Kristen becomes inventive. Holly prepares to reveal to Nicole the truth regarding Tate's drug use. Tate discusses his conflicted feelings for Holly in his journal. Eric and Marlena talk about the conflict between Nicole and Sloane. Stephanie and Everett assess their current situation. Xander is adamant in telling Harris that he wasn't the one who attempted to remove him. Jude was christened today. Holly puts Nicole and EJ through a lot. Marlena tries her hardest to convince John to give himself a pass. Leo receives a reminder from Melinda to keep his trap shut. Brady and Roman offer mutual assistance to one another. The truth may emerge as the christening proceeds. Holly makes a confession to Eric. Sloane, Melinda, and Leo determine that a deal needs to be made. Teresa needs Tate to respond to her right away. Maggie congratulated Constantine on the Greek lasagna he'd prepared. She talked about inviting Julie, Doug, Chad, and the kiddies to stay at the manse and confided Constantine for the way he lifted the children's spirits. Constantine gave Maggie an envelope with a Valentine letter outside, and she was touched by the kind words. Constantine expressed that he wanted to let Maggie know how important she meant to him. They bandied Greek traditions analogous to Valentine's Day, and Maggie mentioned Victor and his love of Greek stories. Maggie disregarded about how Victor would compare her to the great beauty Psyche, and Eros to himself, an uncomely beast. Constantine mentioned that Psyche also meant soul in Greek, and he was thankful for getting to know Maggie and her inconceivable soul. Maggie said that Constantine also had a generous, gentle heart, and she asked if he'd any children. Constantine verified that he'd a child named Katharina, whom he called his heart. He wistfully told Maggie that Katharina meant everything to him and that she was beautiful outside and out. He sorely recalled how Katharina had failed in a woeful accident and how he assured himself with recollections of her. Maggie said she knew how the pain of losing a child lessened but always remained. When Maggie asked about Katharina's mama, Constantine explained that his woman was a awful mama whom he adored, but Katharina's death had left an emptiness that the marriage hadn't been suitable to survive. Maggie reminded Constantine that she'd hear if he ever demanded to talk. Constantine gave his thanks and wanted to ask her commodity, "May I kiss you?" Maggie laughed, but allowed Constantine a brief kiss. He gently said his goodnights and retired. As a tearful Maggie looked at Victor's portrayal, Constantine cried over a picture of Katharina in his room. Abe, Chanel, and Johnny gathered in Paulina's sanitarium room and celebrated the success of her surgery. Kayla explained that the procedure had successfully removed the excrescence and saved Paulina's thyroid, but she stressed that Paulina still could witness difficulties with speaking or other side goods. While Paulina grudgingly acclimated to the erasing board given to her for communication, Kayla said she had heard there was another cause for festivity. She complimented Johnny and Chanel on their recent espousal, and Chanel mentioned that they participated the same Valentine's Day anniversary as Kayla and Steve. Paulina wrote that she was empty, but a departing Kayla reminded her that she'd need to stay a day to eat and that a menu of soft foods would be prepared for her. Chanel asked Paulina if she demanded anything, to which Paulina wrote, "Everything I need is right then." Johnny and Chanel sliced a cutlet that Chanel's workers at the bakery had made for her. Johnny also pulled out his guitar and asked for requests. Chanel said to surprise them. Johnny trilled Chanel with "On Top of the World" and entered applause each around after his performance. Paulina wrote, "Bravo, son-in-law. You are a star." Chanel agreed and gave Johnny a kiss, but the moment was intruded when Paulina suddenly showed signs of torture. Jada heaved when she returned to Rafe and Stephanie's table at the Brady pub and saw Everett. She called him Bobby, and a confused Everett replied, "Who is Bobby, and who are you?" An incredulous Jada asked if he was serious and declared he was her ex-husband, Bobby Stein. Everett said he'd no way seen her ahead, and Jada angrily replied that he'd broken her heart and her spirit and had left her without looking back. Jada called him a fabricator, but Rafe intruded and told her Everett's name and that he worked at the Spectator. After Jada showed Everett a picture of them as a couple on her phone, Everett suspected that everyone had a doppelganger and that Bobby just looked like him. And perplexed Jada said, "That's you, and you know damn well who you are." She hovered to haul Everett down to the police station and run his prints. Everett suggested to Rafe and Stephanie that Jada was losing it, which maddened Jada further. She continued to lash out at Everett and said she wasn't the bone who was pretending and that he was trying to gaslight her. Jada brazened Everett about how he'd prevaricated to her, cheated on her, and wormed her, egging their divorce. Everett claimed he'd have flashed back if he'd been married. Stephanie flashed back to Everett telling her about his accident and wondered audibly if his amnesia could have been the reason why he didn't flash back Jada. Everett and Stephanie explained the details of the accident and its fate to Jada and Rafe stated that they would look into it. Everett again denied being Bobby and said he'd nothing to hide. Jada said she could tell by looking into Everett's eyes that he knew the verity, and she contended with Stephanie to believe her and to cover herself from Everett. Rafe told Jada they should leave and readdress the issue laterally. Before she left, Jada advised Everett that he'd get what he merited. Everett baffled at the hassle and asked Stephanie how well she knew Jada. Stephanie defended Jada as her friend and as a good person. Everett paraphrased that Jada was wrong and that he'd take every taradiddle sensor and show his motorist's license to prove his identity. He scarfed at the idea that the accident could have made him forget an entire relationship. Stephanie flashed back to Jada telling her about Jada's ex and mused that if Jada was telling the truth, then Stephanie was the other woman. Everett was hurt that Stephanie might have believed this legit insanity. Stephanie explained that Jada had claimed Bobby had bought another woman a ring. Remembering her discovery of Everett's engagement ring, Stephanie asked Everett if he had been cheating on Jada with her.